Hello and welcome to another episode of Dubs Talk. I am Dalton Johnson, joined as always by our Warriors insider, Monte, Poole. And Warriors fans, remember that the Black Friday sale is on now at Mancini Sleep World. Shop sleepworld.com. Mancini Sleep World's Black Friday sale is on with savings of up to $1,200 on top of mattress brands. Plus, for the first time ever, they are having 14 days of deals starting November 14th. Every single day, they will feature a brand new limited time deal. Deals on more than just mattresses, including recliners, sofas, pillows, and bedding. Everything you need to upgrade your room and home at Mancini's Sleep World. Monty, we are recording this after the Warriors had their, I think we could call it a blowout, 134-117 win against the Utah Jazz. A very slow start. The Warriors went down 11-0 to begin the game, missed their first 6 shots, including 5 3-pointers, but then they turned it on, especially in that second quarter. What stood out to you the most, Monty, from that win against the Jazz?
Well, the first thing that stood out to me was the pace. There was a certain tempo that they played that second quarter, and it looked like everything they did was intentional and on point. I mean, the passes were where they were supposed to be at the right time. And the defense picked up much better in that first quarter. First quarter defense was all over the place. It was a mess. And they picked up in the second quarter. So, there's a reason why they outscored them 41-20 in that quarter. And the main reason is because they got their act together at both ends. Pat Spencer and Will Richard came in, did a really nice job of maintaining pace and just bringing the energy. The energy level was high. So by the time, Steph was on the bench most of that time. While they went off to that 21-0 run, Steph was watching it, and Jimmy was out there, but you're watching the team. You saw then, I thought at least in that second quarter, you saw what the Warriors can be and what they think they should be. But too often this season they haven't been, So to see that and then coming off that first quarter, I'm going to bring this up because it was glaring. There are 2 players on the Utah Jazz that average more than 20 points a game: Lauri Markkanen, Keyonte George. Lauri Markkanen didn't hurt you much early. Keyonte George scored 15 in the first quarter.
Yep.
He made 4 3-pointers because he had space to shoot. And pretty much wide open. At the top of the game plan are those 2 guys.
Circled. Those are the guys.
Don't let these guys hurt us. Focus on them. And clearly nobody focused on Keyonte George. And Brandon Podziemski has to take a lot of hit on this because, there were times when he was supposed to be there and he just was not. And you watch that second quarter and you saw that whether it was Pat or whether it was Will, or there was always somebody, when Keyonte was in the game, there was always somebody nearby. Steve Kerr, late in that first quarter, after Keyonte got a wide open 3 right in front of the Warriors bench, Kerr hopped off the bench, spitting mad. Oh, yeah. And he called it a gentle reminder of the game.
Ooh, gentle.
Yeah, that's what he said. Steph called it something else. Yeah. It was pretty clear that he was torqued, irked, irate, livid, pick a word.
Pissed off.
Yeah. And from there on, different game, different team. But what was notable is that Pods sat the entire second quarter.
Second quarter.
He was no more on the court than Draymond was, and Draymond was wearing sweats. So I think the lesson for him to take away from this game is that, dude, game plan discipline is the most important thing for a decent. And know your personnel.
KYP
is the most important element of game plan discipline. yeah, you want to know what all your teammates are. You want to know what defense you're in, and you can do all that on the fly, whether you're in a zone or switching or man. You can do all that on the fly. But when you know who the most dangerous players on the other team are, you have to know that those guys demand your attention. And Keontae George was just having his way. And so I think for Brandon, it's a tough job for him to be the point of attack defender when he's out there. I get that. There's certain athletic limitations that he has that are going to make it tough on him. But you got to at least be in the area. Got to be in the area. And he wasn't. That's what ticked off Steve. And, as Steph said after the game, that can't happen. That can't happen. So they got it together. And they got it together because, again, a couple guys off the bench brought energy. Then Steph got cooking. Jimmy was solid all night, I thought. Whether it was shooting, scoring, efficiently scoring, making the right pass to the right person at the right time. And so they just played Warriors basketball for the rest of the night. And overall, they finished with 34 and 10, 34 assists, 10 turnovers. And that's what you want. That's Warriors basketball. Granted, it was against Utah Jazz, who were coming on the second night of a back-to-back. But still, that's the way you want to play. And so I thought once they got out of that dirty first quarter, they got it going. They looked good.
Yeah, the way that I wrote in my takeaways was message received when it came to that moment. And Monte, I went back and watched the play that Steve was irate about with Brandon Pajemski, with the defense. And it's not so much that it was Brandon getting beat one-on-one by any means. He was floating. He was floating in the middle of the paint, bouncing back and forth. And then there's Keontae George just rotating to the wing right in front of the Warriors bench, wide open. BP's late in the rotation. Keontae George hits the three right in their face. And then Brandon tries to do kind of his arms open, almost deferring to a teammate. Hey, where were you? And Steve was not having that. Take some accountability. He was young at the bench, clapping his hands, but the message was clearly directed at BP. Brandon Pajemski played, because I think it was with about 1:52 left in the first quarter. Played the rest of the first quarter. But then, as you mentioned, he sat that entire second quarter. When he came back with about 7 minutes left in the third quarter was when he re-entered the game. And he was better the rest of the game. Oh, yeah. He was better. Yeah. The Warriors, their antenna just turned on. Whatever Steve said, which is a lot of words that we cannot say here, the message was received. Because in that first quarter, Monte, the Jazz shot 7 of 10 from three-point range. The rest of the game, 4 of 25. 16%. So whatever Steve had to say, however loud he needed to be, it was the exact message that he needed to get across to this team, because there already have been too many games that should have been Warriors wins. Let's be real. We've learned from this team the last few years. We're not going to look at the calendar and just circle games that are wins by any means. But Steve's biggest frustration earlier in the year with those losses to the Bucks and the Pacers are, guys, the difference of last year in the Western Conference standings from having home court advantage or being in the play-in was 2 games. You can't let those kind of games slip. You can't let a team like the Jazz gain that kind of momentum that early on, because it could bite you in the rear end as it has already early in the season for the Warriors.
Yeah, absolutely. So guess what Tuesday was about? Tuesday was about video study.
Yeah.
They went over the video, of course, and they saw that first quarter, and they went, oh, my God, what are we doing? So the focus was on game plan discipline and knowing your personnel. And these are things that are elemental to the NBA. Every NBA player knows the importance of game plan discipline and knowing your personnel, because you simply cannot succeed without those 2 things. When I say game plan discipline, knowing your personnel is like part 1 of that. You know, you got to know who you're playing and what their strengths and weaknesses are. And that's what you study film for, video. It's not even film anymore. It used to be film. They don't use film anymore. But video. And so there was a lot of that. However, there was some good news coming out of there in terms of the injury front. Draymond Green did practice on Tuesday, And obviously, he missed the game against Utah with a foot sprain. So he's feeling better. Still questionable for the Rockets on Wednesday, but trending toward being in pretty good shape. So if he misses Wednesday, he'll be back on the weekend, it looks like. So, and then Jonathan Kuminga.
Yes, let's get into that.
And sort of the mystery medical marble thing here lately.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not moving well. He's not doing this. He can't do that. They don't know when he's going to be available. He's day to day, but we don't know when. Well, on Tuesday, he did some 3-on-3 work. And on Wednesday, before the game against the Rockets, the plan is for him to scrimmage in some 5-on-5 activity.
Okay.
So Steve Kerr said that he will not play Wednesday. But if he's scrimmaging 5-on-5, that always is a sign that you're just a few days away.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that day is comes on the weekend or whether that day comes, next Tuesday.
OKC.
Yeah, that would be a tough hello.
Come on back.
But that may be it, and so you'd rather go against the Pelicans, and so, but that's to be determined. But I think there's just at least some clarity.
That's the word right there, clarity.
There hasn't been any.
No.
We're going to big cloud.
Yes. Because Steve has used that word saying that there is no clarity before Tuesday's practice, when it came to Sunday's practice, when it came before Monday's game. I mean, he was telling us, I don't know what Jonathan's doing. Like, you guys ask him. And then in the locker room, JK wouldn't give a comment, kind of declined comment to multiple reporters. Anthony Slater said that on the way out of the game. I saw JK too. He just said, hey, seemed like he was in good spirits. But apparently to Anthony said soon, as far as when do you think you'll be back?
Right.
But before the game, it was all about declines. Also saw him, kind of putting on more of his warm-up gear before the game. So I'm assuming that before the game, he went through some more work too, kind of seeing how his body's feeling. So obviously there's going to be conversations with Rick Celebrini, who will then relay conversations to Steve Kerr. But this is going to come down to Jonathan Kuminga. So it's good to hear that he's at least been able to, I don't want to bring back the word ramp up to these Warriors fans, because I know that that's always a sensitive subject as well. Right. But it seems like he's getting closer, which is big. And because, again, people can have their opinions about Jonathan Kuminga's fit on this team, but his athleticism, his size, his punch as a scorer is still needed. And I think that in some of these games that he's missed, they have hurt, on that road trip. Like, he was missing some of those games. I think about the Orlando game. I think about the Miami game where they set everybody on the second night of back-to-back. So getting Jonathan Kuminga back will be a positive, will be a plus for this Warriors team. And where we stand right now, near the end of November, we have less than 2 months now when it comes to the first day that he can be traded. You just need more of that clarity as far as where JK is with this team and where this team wants to be with or without him.
Yeah, they got to figure that out. And, I think they're open to both possibilities, but yes. I think ideally, because he knows they wanted to trade him.
Oh, yeah.
And they know he was more than ready to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't go away because he signed a contract. They both know that. And I think that's why there will still be pretty intense exploring of trade possibilities over the next couple of months, before January 15th. And so we'll see where things are. But, yeah, I think there's something else that and this could involve Kuminga too, is that and we talked to Steve Kerr about this today, and he acknowledged that the NBA is starting to shift back to teams playing big.
Yes, they are.
2 big lineups. And my question to Steve was, what kind of challenges do you guys have when you're facing teams that have 2 bigs? And he said, that, it's important to note that we're going to be small in certain ways because Steph and Draymond are not big for their positions. Okay. But beyond that, he said a lot of it just depends on physicality and effort and playing good defense, which you can do at any size.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to note that the Warriors, who have been a bottom 10 rebounding team all season, out-rebounded Utah, which is a giant team.
Yeah.
You know, even without Walker Kessler, they still got Nurkic and Markkanen, 2 7-footers. So they got other guys coming off the bench that are pretty big too. So to out-rebound a big team, I said I'll be rebounding them 50-47. But there were points in the game where the Warriors were +8 and +10 in rebounds. And later on in the fourth quarter, the Jazz kind of cut the gap a little bit. So I asked Steve about that, and that's what he said, that, rebounding is, as we all know, rebounding is not just a function of size. I mean, Dennis Rodman was one of the greatest rebounders ever, and he was 6'7".
Yeah. Effort, nonstop by that man.
Effort, anticipation.
Yep.
There's a lot of factors involved in me. Charles Barkley, 6'5", great rebounder, and there are some 7-footers who can't get 2 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
Zion Williamson on Monday night had 1 rebound, and he's 6'7", 2
freak athlete. Yeah.
He had 1 rebound in 30 minutes, and so rebounding is something that the Warriors have to do better, and I think that's going to help their offense, because a lot of times their lack of rebounding leads to fast breaks the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when the other team gets multiple shots because they're offensive rebounding, the Warriors defense, next thing you know, you're playing against a set defense, because they get that second or third shot, it goes in, and now you're taking the ball out of the basket and you're going up court against the defense that's set, which against the Rockets is death.
Yes.
KD.
Yeah. Still.
We saw the Rockets 7 times in the postseason last year. The Rockets they mix football and rugby and basketball. They mix all 3 of those.
Ime Udoka way, that's right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they mix very physical sports in there. And this year is no different than last year. They're coming at you physically. And I mean, Ime Udoka, man, give it credit to him, man. He wants the guys to bring the smoke.
Yes, he does.
And they do. And there are times I look at Ime and go, he's ready to bring the smoke.
Yeah. He's got the brass knuckles gearing up.
Yes. So facing the Rockets on Wednesday, you hope that Draymond is able to go.
Be huge.
Makes a huge difference, because, as we know, he is as important to that defense as Steph is to the offense.
It's insane. Our numbers.
When he's not out there, you can feel the difference. It's like, I'm going to use another analogy. The 49ers, Fred Warner to the defense.
Oh, yes.
It's like you can tell something's missing when Draymond's not out there. And what's missing is that captain, that guy who was aligning his teammates, speaking to his teammates, being in the right place, blowing up the other team's offensive motion and stuff. And so if he's out there, makes a huge difference. If he is not out there, then Al Horford's out. Then you got Şengün going.
Yeah. Getting Thanksgiving dinner a day early, huh, Monty?
Yeah. You looking at Quentin Post and Trace Davidson going, yeah.
Let me eat. Yeah.
Yes. So that's going to be a challenge. I mean, Rockets going to be a challenge anyway. But given the way the Warriors bigs are right now, with one down and one possibly down, and Rockets, they don't play small. They play big, and you've got Jabari Smith out there. You got Tari Eason. You've got big guys with Şengün, and so they've loaded up front. And you look at that team and you go, dang. So how can the Warriors compete with the Rockets? First, take care of the ball. You get turnovers against that team. They're off and running.
Mm-hmm.
They're dunking, and you're taking the ball out of the basket and playing against that defense that's ready to go. Perlana, big giant, So that's going to be a challenge. I mean, honestly, it's a game that I think if the Warriors find a way to win, I think it would be a surprise.
Yeah.
Just where they are, where the Rockets are. And again, if KD was with the Rockets, Yeah, you know what he can do. You know who he is.
You know who I am.
Yeah, but he's not there. But they're still a load to deal with, man.
Yeah, no, they are a really, really good team overall. You look at the length of them, the athleticism, young players stepping up like a Reed Shepherd, the evolution of Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith, being those extra scorers too, with on top of what they already do defensively. It's going to be a challenge. And I think about the intentions of the Warriors in this Jazz game, especially the second quarter on. We talk about the ball popping, like the ball was moving. They took over 100 shots. Like, that's great to see from the Warriors. Somebody like GP2. This was a quintessential GP2 game, guarding Lauri Markkanen, who is 10 inches taller than him. And
At least
he was a big reason why Lauri had his second worst scoring night of the season. Lauri Markkanen came in as averaging almost 30 points per game. He scored 17 on, I think, 6 of 19 shooting.
Yeah.
1 of 5 from 3-point range. So he barely shot just under 32% from the field against the Warriors. GP2 was a big reason why. I think he had 6 rebounds. He had 8 assists. You look at the way Jimmy Butler played. Like, I thought Jimmy Butler was so easily the second best player on that floor over Lauri Markkanen. It wasn't even close. His efficiency with 18 points on 8 of 11 shooting. And his 3 misses, he grabbed his first miss, tipped it back in. Another one was a layup that he tried to draw a foul on. And the third one was really just, it was the bottom of his shot got swiped down and they called it a missed shot. It wasn't even really a miss. It was just, he was so efficient. Yeah, he tied for the team high in rebounds, tied for the team high in assists. He was the second best player on the floor. I thought Buddy Hield, that might have been the best Buddy Hield game of the season. That was huge because the other night, what was it, the Miami game? He scored 18, but so inefficient. I think he needed 20-something shots. It wasn't a good 18 points. And then he goes donut the next game. There has been, and Buddy admitted it, it's been a rough start for him. He said it at the podium. It hasn't been easy for him. You could tell that like things are just going too fast in his head at times in these games. It seemed slowed down for him. He was taking some mid-range shots. He was getting to the basket. Monte, we wrote about it. We talked about it so much last season, the X factor that Buddy Hield is. That was huge for him to get to. I think it was 18 points last night and a good 20. That's right. You know what? It was Buddy Hield's first 20-point game of the season, a season high 20 points for Buddy Hield. That's big money. I mean, how big of a factor is Buddy Hield being a consistent scoring option? Getting 15 to 20 points from Buddy Hield can go a long way.
He's the one guy on the Warriors coming off the bench that teams go, okay, we got to
get him. Exactly.
Even when he was shooting 26% from 3, they were still guarding him because they know what he can do. He's got history. You know, he's got receipts. And so, you know, Buddy's made a ton of threes in his career. And so when he comes onto the floor, teams know, don't give him any space. So, and Buddy's been pretty good about not forcing shots. You know, when he's guarded, he moves the ball. But he has been missing open shots most of this season. And that's the part that's troubling. And so for him to go 4 of 8 from 3 against Utah, again, I don't care who the opponent is. For Buddy to watch the ball go in was huge.
Yeah.
I got to think it's like he played with a clear head or something. You know, just went out there and played. And 8 of 13 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3, 20 points. That's a huge lift for the team, but a bigger lift for him, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're going to need Buddy going forward. Last time Buddy saw the Rockets, remember what he did?
He came 7 Buddy. That's right.
Yeah, you know,
now
Buddy brought it, you know, and so that's the thing about why he's the X factor, I think, is because he's the gunslinger off the bench that can give you 20 on a given night, and on some nights can give you 30.
Yeah, you never know.
And this season, we've seen none of that until Monday night. The opening night, he was pretty good, but he was much better Monday night, I thought, and got his first 20-point game of the season. I'm thinking he feels better about himself, about his shot, because he's a shooter first. Everything else comes second last night. And he was good moving the ball last night. He was good rebounding. I think he had 5 or 6 rebounds.
Yes, he was active. You could just feel his engagement into the game.
Yes.
Feel it, Monty.
Yeah, he committed a couple of turnovers that, are Buddy like, I thought.
Buddy's gonna give you that sometimes. Come on.
Yeah, like, Buddy, what are you doing? And so, but if a shot's going in, he can help you. He can help you. And again, I don't want to put too much stock in the Utah game.
Right.
Again, who they are and coming off a back-to-back and all of that. But there were things the Warriors can take from that game. And the question now is whether they can apply them going forward, beginning with Houston, because it's a whole different game when you got to go from the Jazz to the Rockets. You go into a top 3 team in the West. I think there's a clear top 3 in the West. OKC, Denver, Houston.
Okay, yep.
Everybody else is like scrambling for positions 4 through 8.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
So this is going to be a tough game to win. And then you have the Pelicans. And then you got OKC.
Yeah.
So it's a 5-game homestand, okay? And they're 1-1.
Yeah.
The hope was that the Warriors could somehow come to a 4-1 games.
Yes. Yep. That was the goal.
That means you got to beat either Houston or OKC, which I think is doable if the Warriors are whole or close to whole. And I say that because Houston's without KD, so that's a little bit of an advantage for the Warriors. And B, OKC is not as good on the road as they are at home. At home, they're damn near unbeatable.
Yeah, they're nasty.
Watching them play at home, it's almost like old Oracle vibes.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, it's like when the Warriors were at Oracle, teams did not want to play there. They didn't want to come there. And I know a lot of teams don't go look at OKC going, we got to go to OKC, So I'm not saying that they're vulnerable because they are a machine, but I'm saying that if you're going to get OKC, your best bet is to get them on the road because it's so hard to get them on their own court. So a 4-1 homestand is still possible, but a lot of it depends on Draymond, if he's available and effective. And then it depends on, again, the usual stuff, turnovers, rebounding, and just the nuts and bolts. But the KYP was definitely a focus in today's video review and discussion before they had like a light workout.
It was drilled in clearly, Monte. My final question for you before we wrap it up is that we've seen the starting 5 move around. We had the iteration with JK at the start of the year. We've seen Quentin Post in there, Brandon Pajemski, then it moved to Will Richard being in there with Moses Moody. Now Will Richard went out. GP2 started 1 game. Obviously, health is number 1 when it comes to all this. I'm saying at full strength, who are the automatics? We know that it's Steph. We know it's Draymond. We know it's Jimmy as the automatics. Are the other 2 spots just going to be up in the air, matchup-based the rest of the season? Or do you think one person has one open and then there's another one that's open? Like, how do you think that's going to balance out the rest of the season?
Well, I think Moses has a pretty good grip on a spot.
So do I. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I think he has a pretty good grip on a spot. I mean, I think, of course, it's changeable, but I think he has a pretty good grip on a spot. And I think the other spot is open. I think I still believe there will come some games when Al starts at the 5.
Okay.
And Draymond goes to the 4.
Waiting to see that. Waiting to see it.
Yeah, and Jimmy stays at 3. And so I think there will be some such games. But I don't know when. Al's out with sciatica, so he won't be available at all this week. He won't get looked at again until Sunday or Monday and see where he is with that. But I think that's the spot that's going to be rotating for the time being. I mean, Will Richard was there for a while. GP2 got to start last night, against the Jazz. So I think it's still some tinkering going on with that. And that's something that'll be determined, I think, at some point. But, when JK comes back again, that may be another, so there are a lot of other variables out there that are available. And it's hard to know which one, will be the one. And I don't know if there will be the one, at least over the next couple of weeks, because so much of it is based on matchups and opponents, and we'll see how that plays out. But, if they put together 3 or 4 games that look really good, that'll be the one for the time being. And they haven't done that, but right there, they sort of got something going with 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, then it didn't work against Portland.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to go ahead and just say that I think Moses Moody's spot is cemented. I think that he's going to stick there. I think his two-way role for what he does for you is so important for this team. Steve, I think, talked about it even last game where it was asked about a Jimmy Butler question, actually, about playing the 4. And it was like, no, I'm not worried about it because nowadays, what's the real big difference between the 2, the 3, the 4 anyways? And he kind of feels like Moses can fit all those roles. I feel like Moses can be a 2, a 3, or a 4. That final spot, I think, is going to continue to be up in the air. And we still haven't seen DeAnthony Melton yet. So there are so many factors to this when it comes to health, when it comes to matchups for these Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I just think that, you got 3 more home games and, you want to try and get all of them.
Yeah.
But, if you get 3 and 2, that still means you got to beat Houston or OKC. So, and a 2 and 3 homestand would be downright disappointing.
Yeah, completely.
So
completely.
We'll see.
Yes, we will. Well, this was Dubs Talk. I am Dalton. He's Monte. And Warriors fans, remember that the Black Friday sale is on now at Mancini's Sleep World. Shop sleepworld.com. We'll be seeing you guys soon.